In this video, I want to go through one of the most important things for approval when you're trying to get a VA home loan, especially if you have a lower credit score. So if you're a veteran with a low credit score, be sure to watch all the way to the end of this video because I'm going to give you some tips that might just make or break your approval. So let's get into it. So first of all, why do you want to do a letter of explanation? Well, many letters will require a letter of explanation, especially during a manual underwrite. And if you have a lower score, um, and you actually want to do this because it gives you a chance to tell your side of the story. Credit scores don't tell everything. That's one of the things I love as a loan officer where I'm working on the VA home loan is that it's a very, very flexible program. The VA specifically designed it to be flexible. But we need to know what's going on and need to know your side of the story. And so that's especially important when we're doing manual underwrite, which is typically where we'll see these requests for letter of explanation. And so first of all, let's talk about what is manual underwriting. So there are two different types of underwriting. There's automated underwriting, which is where we have software that determines whether you're approved or not. There's manual underwriting, where basically the software can't determine approval, and the underwriter has to actually read the credit report and determine whether or not you are a good credit risk. Now, typically, they will look for a year or no installment lates, although it's not even a VA requirement, but pretty much everybody has that. Also, you will need at least 2 years with no lates on rent. And I have a couple other videos where I go deeper into that topic. But that's just the high level overview of what you need to get a manual underwrite. Now, the VA actually has a rule called extenuating circumstances. I'm going to go briefly through that. I've got a couple of videos that go a lot deeper into that. With extenuating circumstance, you can use those if you're able to tie the bad credit in with extenuating circumstance. In other words, extenuating circumstance caused the late payments to happen. And there are a few allowable and unallowable extenuating circumstances. And just a quick review, like I said, I have a couple other videos that mention this. Medical situations, layoff situations certainly would count. Inability to sell a departing residence. We don't see a lot of these, but those count as well. And here are a few things you need to know when you're doing that letter of explanation. First of all, don't try to hide things. Just be upfront about everything. The good, the bad, the ugly. We will find things, and there's nothing worse than not mentioning things in that letter of explanation, and then we go and pull some things. Like, for example, I did a $45,000 tax lien that he forgot to mention to us, and surprise, surprise, we found it later, and not so surprising, he didn't get that loan. And he wasted a lot of time and money. He wasted our time and money because we're getting a lot of stuff for him, and he's getting inspections, and we thought we were approving this, only to find out that he had that tax lien. And so definitely don't try to hide things. Just tell us up front and let us figure it out. Don't try to hide things. Next thing is I want to say a resume style format is best for the letter of explanation. And by resume style, the style that I have found works best is very beginning of the letter of explanation, do a quick summary of here's why my credit is not so good right now. And more importantly, add in some things that are good. So, for example, I knew somebody that was in the middle of a lawsuit and she was about to collect $100,000 a month after closing. She was, I think it was an ear lawsuit or something. Yeah, somebody better. I don't remember what it was. It was actually the water, the whole contaminated water thing on Fort Bragg. She's involved in that thing, and so she was going to get a pretty big settlement off of that, over 6 figures in the settlement. And that's something that's not on the credit reports, and that's something we know. But I told her put it in your letter of explanation, and the underwriter loved that because it's one more thing that gives them a positive that overwhelmed the negatives, and she had quite a bit of negatives, and she did get the house, by the way. So yeah, it definitely works. Definitely ask your loan officer to review the letter. It's something I offer as a courtesy, no charge. I mean, it's just part of my job. Not every loan officer will do it, so you got to find someone that is willing and able to do it. And believe it or not, oftentimes we can actually get employees at the companies we're working with to also review the letter, give you like a second level review. And I'll do that before we even submit this thing for underwriting. I'll actually have one of our lenders reps review that letter of explanation and let us know, is this thing workable? Here's the credit report, here's that letter of explanation. Is this a workable file, or are we just, spinning our wheels here? And that saves a lot of time. That way we don't have to TBD everything or submit things for TBD approval. Or worse yet, go under contract only to find out we can't do it. Even worse, we don't want to do that. And to see it, the letter of explanation is a good enough letter. And oftentimes, like the story is good, but for whatever reason, they might have told me a decent story, but they didn't express it well in the letter. And oftentimes, I'll dig out, based on the feedback that I got from the lender, and talk to the borrower and be like, hey, add this and this and this. You told me that this and this and this happened. Be sure to include that in the letter. Let's rewrite the letter. I've had them rewrite letters 2, 3, 4 times. It takes what it takes, but in the end, we'll get them approved. So definitely ask for a review. And if your loan officer's not reviewing these letters, who are you working with? I will add that spelling and grammar count. Review everything, put things in paragraph format, break things up a little bit so I can read it. If we don't know what you're talking about because everything's misspelled, how can we approve it? Like, we didn't know what, put things in your best light. There's Grammarly and all kinds of softwares you can get nowadays that can help you with that. Or maybe you have a relative or friend that, can help you review things to get things more orderly. Be sure to do that because it definitely helps with approval. The more clear you are in what the story is, the more that I can help you if I understand exactly what we're doing. Here's another thing that we need to keep in mind. The format of a really good letter of explanation is things were going well. You had something bad happen, whatever that is. And then there's a happy end. The story has to have a happy ending. If it's, I've got cancer and I still have cancer, that's not good, because we want to see, and the VA actually wants us to show that whatever happened has been resolved. And so you need to show that by saying, hey, I did have some bad days. Everybody's got bad days, but here's what's happened. Here's how it's resolved. Here's my credit's going to improve over the next 6 to 9 to 12 months. So that's a little bit about letters of explanation. And I've got a ton of other videos about VA loans, especially about bad credit VA loans. So be sure to check the description below for a playlist. As always, if you have any questions about VA loans or mortgage in particular, feel free to give me a call. My number is 937-572-3713 or scopeher.com. Thanks. Bye.